So I have my sourdough bread no knead recipe. I'll post it in the comments below. This is a before you go to bed type of recipe because the longer it ferments, the better. A lot of you that have digestive issues, like real digestive issues, even with whole milled flour and sourdough, ferment it longer than, like right now it's 8 p.m. and I'm gonna make this as soon as I get up. So 6:30. If you want it to be fermented longer, just ferment it longer. Do like a 24-hour ferment and just leave it in the bowl. I'll get to that at the end. But I'm gonna mix this up now. So then it will sit at night. I'm just gonna show you the steps of how to do it. And then I will post another video when I wake up in the morning and what to do next for the baking part. So it'll be 2 videos here. This one will be the longest. So sourdough bread, no knead. This is what you're gonna prepare the night before. And I'm gonna switch it around so you can see. Okay, so right here, sourdough bread, prepare the night before. 2 cups of warm water. And I have this bowl where I'm going to put the water, the sourdough starter, and the salt, and I'm just gonna let that kind of warm up while I get ready to mill the flour in this bowl. So I have salt here. I'm gonna try to do this one-handed. I'm not a professional here on YouTube, but you're gonna understand how to do this, and that's the whole point. It doesn't have to be fancy. So 1.5 teaspoons. It's okay if you do 2 teaspoons. I noticed a little bit more salt is better. Okay, so here's my sourdough starter. It says 1/4 to 1/2 cup. So I am going to, let's see, actually, I am not going to do that because that's just going to ruin my, this is how I measure, okay? Let's be real. I forgot I only had one hand here. So 1/4 to 1/2. There we go. That's enough. That might be more, but you know, it'll still be fine. Okay, I'll actually use this spoon here. And I'm going to stir this together. It's kind of similar to maybe how you would treat a yeast and salt. I have definitely not done this step before and just dumped everything in all at once and stirred it and put it aside for the night, and it's totally fine. So there you go. So that's just, I wanted to show you that's an option, but you do not need to be fussy with the water. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what my flour grinder looks like. My mill, and I'm going to add 5 to 6 cups of flour in here, but I'm going to show you a little bit of how this mill is run. It's a Nutrimill. You'll see it right here. I think it's called the Harvest kind, and the flour comes right out of there. So I'm going to turn it on. It'll be noisy. Okay, so I'm all done, and while I was at it, I mixed up another batch because you should just make 2 loaves, either to stick straight in the freezer so you can have it throughout the week, or because you'll eat the whole thing and then you'll need another one. So here we go. I'll just kind of show you the consistency. I'm one-handed here, but I did 5 cups. The recipe says 5 to 6 cups of flour, and you don't want a dry loaf, okay? You don't want a dry loaf. You want it to be a little bit on the sticky side. So hopefully I didn't add too much flour. Hold on a second. I'm going to flip you. Let me give this a two-handed stir. Maybe I'll one day have something where you can look down in the bowl, but I'm not that fancy yet. Okay, so this is what you want. This is what, oh no, that isn't gonna be good. Okay, so all it took, and then it came together. So this is what it's gonna look like. See that? So I would just start with 5 cups. That would be good. And I forgot to tell you, see how it comes together like that? Almost able to flip over. Okay, so that's 5 cups. I am doing hard red wheat berries. Hard red wheat. I do mix it up sometimes and do hard white. Or sometimes I'll even mix hard red wheat with soft white, because I have that pre-mixed together in the cabinet for various uses of, biscuits, things like that. But this is just hard red wheat. You can use any berries that you want. I think the recipe would be just fine. Just make sure it isn't like a typical dry. So next I'm going to stir up this, but you don't have to watch that. So this is what I'll do. I don't know if this plate fits. It does. Wonderful. So that's how I'm going to cover it. So it's just a bowl. I'm going to cover it. You could do a couple towels. You don't really need to let it breathe. It's just going to ferment all night. So that's just what I'm going to do. And I'm going to set it on the counter along with this. And then my next video, because I can't do that yet, my next video is me preheating my oven and getting ready to bake the loaves. So it doesn't take very long to bake, about 30 minutes, and you have a nice loaf. Hold on one second. I actually baked this a couple days ago. I mean, you know how bread gets, homemade bread. It doesn't stay like super beautiful the day after or the day after. But you know, it's pretty natural on top, and this is plain. A lot of the recipes, or sometimes I'll make this recipe into like a cinnamon raisin or even a rosemary, but I don't add the rosemary, any of those herbs until, excuse me, until the morning of when I'm baking. And I'll also show you that. Maybe I'll make a rosemary loaf. I suppose maybe if I wanted a more pungent rosemary loaf, I would add it now, but I guess I've always just added it in the morning and it's fine. I actually might do like a rosemary sun-dried tomato. I am really stuck on sun-dried tomatoes lately. I love them. And rosemary. So I just think they're the perfect combination. So stay tuned. I'll do another video for that. But I also wanted to tell you, when you're mixing all this together and milling all the flour and you have your sourdough starter out, it's an old jam jar. But throw in a couple tablespoons of flour in your jar with a little warm water and you just stir it. And that's all I do for my starter. What is that thing? Oh, it's just a little pocket. It's supposed to be thick. It's not supposed to be really runny. I'm not a fancy sourdough starter person at all. I don't mean do discards. So if you don't want to follow my advice and you're a perfectionist, that's okay. You can follow someone else's advice. But all I do is keep this jar full, like up to here, because I use it a lot. So I just do 2 rounded tablespoons of flour, put it in here and I run it underneath the faucet of water, just enough that's super goopy. And then I put a lid on it and put it in the back of my counter, and I do that every day. And when it gets a little bit towards the top, I'll make sure to use it. That's it. No fuss. Okay. I will see you guys in the morning when I start to bake these loaves.